In this episode of The Landscape, I got a chance to talk to my good friend Duffie Cooley, who's a field CTO at Isovalent by Cisco, and is always doing wonderful things in the cloud native community. Now, Duffie is a member of the TOC, which is a Technical Oversight Committee. It's kind of a big deal in the CNCF. They do a lot of cool stuff. He'll explain more what's involved in that. Also, his 3 open source projects that are catching his attention most in terms of what's going on right now. And also, always just good to catch up with Duffie because the vibe is super chill. Now, let's get to the episode.
My name is Duffie Cooley, and I'm Maui Lion everywhere. I am the field CTO at Isovalent, now part of Cisco. And so, yeah, now I'm part of Cisco.
Which 3 CNCF projects are you currently most excited about?
3 CNCF projects. It's an interesting question because I'm a TOC member, so I'm kind of all over the place. I do think that Kubeflow is pretty interesting. I'm obviously a big fan and somewhat biased of Cilium and Tetragon. And I also, probably long term, I've always been super fascinated by Prometheus and all of that work.
Okay, let's touch on Kubeflow really quickly. You know, we saw in the last KubeCon, big emphasis on AI and ML workloads making their way onto Kubernetes. For people that may not be aware of Kubeflow, what are the things you think they should keep in mind? What are the things that you're excited about with this particular project?
So I think Kubeflow represents one of the newer projects that really enable like AI types of workflows, like doing things like machine learning in an automated way, being able to actually access particular resources in a way that you would otherwise not. And I think the abstractions that Kubeflow creates are really interesting. It's also interesting that the project is has dependencies that I think they've defined. Like, for example, Kubeflow kind of expects that Istio will be a part of the stack. And I'm fascinated to see if there are other components within the CNCF that could replace Istio in that particular component, right? Like there might, and just kind of understanding better like what the architecture of all of that is. And so I plan on spending a little bit more time this year kind of digging into that myself.
Very good. Last but not least, you said you're a TOC member. For people that don't know what that is, what does that involve?
The TOC stands for the Technical Oversight Committee, and it's one of the committees that forms the CNCF. And so our job as a technical oversight committee is to define the technological direction of the CNCF. And part of that work is accepting projects into the CNCF as part of Sandbox, or helping projects move from Sandbox to incubation all the way up into graduated. It's also a lot of work around like how do we structure the work we do in the TOC and as part of perhaps like technical advisory groups that we rely on, so that we're not overloading any one component with too much work. Like obviously this whole space has been blowing up like crazy and it shows no sign of slowing down. And so how do we actually approach that work in a way that is effective, but not completely overwhelming all of the awesome volunteers that are part of it? You know, like this is it's open source and it's also open community. And it means that like all of these people are volunteering their time to be a part of this crazy experiment.
Wonderful. Duffie, thank you very much. Cheers.
Thank you.